Okay, here we go. I did the Paul McCartney album ranking and now I'm doing the John Lennon one. This will be a lot quicker because John Lennon obviously had a not a particularly big discography. I mean, there's a decent amount. Of course, this is in the wrong order, which is lovely. So let's go through these. I think it's pretty interesting. So start off with the avant-garde albums he did with Yoko. I think I've heard them all at least once. I mean, it feels weird to even compare them or count them alongside these albums because they're not exactly meant to be, they are what they're meant to be, you know what I mean? But I guess I just have to put them in F, so there you go. You don't have to listen to these. Okay. Plastic Ono Band is S tier. I think that this is my favourite John Lennon album. I think it's even potentially my favourite Beatles solo album. I think it's amazing. It's not very commercial, and I think, it's not very Beatley, but I think John Lennon, he really, in his solo career, he kind of almost put lyrics over music a lot of the time, and maybe on certain albums that balance went a bit too far, but on this album I think it's great because, production wise it's very, sparse. I think it's perfect for what it's going for. I think Phil Spector is technically the producer, but it sounds like he didn't really get that involved. He didn't get his greasy fingers all over it. But yeah, I think it's a brilliant album. Maybe one that requires multiple listens. It's very autobiographical and not a very happy album either. But I love every track. I mean, I say it's an unhappy album. That is true, but Hold On's pretty nice song. I love how that song sounds. Isolation's a highlight. God, although that's kind of a harsh song. It even takes a dig at the Beatles, I guess. But I think it's good. Mother, the opener's pretty heart-wrenching. I mean, an interesting choice as opening track. It's pretty sad. I like every song. I think this is an incredible album. So then we have Imagine, which is his most successful album, very commercially successful. It obviously has the famous title track, Imagine, one of the most famous songs of all time. But it's not the only great track. Obviously, Jealous Guy is pretty famous. That's a good song. Give Me Some Truth. We got How Do You Sleep, the Paul McCartney diss track, which I like. Let's see, It's So Hard. Oh My Love. I like Oyoko as well. I think I like every track. I sometimes kind of go back and forth in terms of how good. I mean, it's definitely one of his best. I guess the only slight issue I have with this album is Phil Spector, who did get his greasy fingers on this album, just a little bit. But it's not too bad. I think the only song on this album that I think is a little much is maybe How Do You Sleep. I do like, you can listen to like the early takes of that song, which I like a lot more when it's just the band and hasn't got any orchestra stuff over it. So, I mean, that's obviously Esther. Okay, so you go from Imagine to Sometime in New York City. So, this was considered a pretty disappointing album at the time. You could argue it's probably one of the biggest drops in quality from one album to the other. I don't dislike this album as much as I used to. I've kind of come around to it. I don't think it's terrible. But I mean, the only songs I really like are John Sinclair, which is like a kind of a bluesy song, and New York City, which is like a sequel to Ballad of John and Yoko. I quite like. And what I was saying earlier about, you know, lyrics over music, I mean, that's definitely the case on this album. I mean, you can see on the album cover, the whole idea of this album is like, it's a newspaper. It's like talking about the news. But musically, it's not great, I think. I think Phil Spector is on this album, and I think the album would have been better if he wasn't. Obviously, Yoko's... It's like a John Lennon Yoko album, so if you don't like Yoko, you're definitely going to struggle with this album. But her songs aren't that bad, really. I think Angela's not bad, but the version that was on that Greatest Hits album that Sean Lennon was in charge of is quite a lot better. And I do think there should be a remix of this album coming out. But I think that's been delayed because, well, there's a certain song on here which makes it kind of, I don't know, dodgy to work with. I think you know which one I'm talking about. The lead single of this album, yeah, obviously it got banned because why wouldn't it be? I sort of know what he's going for, but it's yeah, I don't know. I don't need to go in too much into that. And also the second disc is a live disc. It's from 2 different live performances. One is like a charity gig, and then one is like with Frank Zappa and the Mothers. And I like the Frank Zappa tracks and also the Cold Turkey live version. The thing I struggle with the live disc is Yoko Ono, who showcases her, you know, her infamous wailing, which, to be fair, it makes sense in this context because it's like avant-garde. I mean, you know, it's Frank Zappa, it makes sense, but for me, she ruins those performances. Like, I really enjoy the Frank Zappa bit, but I just wish Yoko wasn't there, and I could just enjoy it for the musicianship, I guess. So I'll put it in D. It's not real. I don't really go back to it. So okay, then we have Mind Games, which, you know, if this had followed up after Imagine, it still was probably been a disappointing follow-up, but not quite as egregious. I like this album. It's pretty good. I sort of go back and forth on it. You know, the title track's pretty good, and I love Intuition. And I like some of the kind of rocker tracks like Meat City and Tight Ass. Great title. And there's a lot of ballads on here which aren't bad. Out of the Blue. And I like Only People. So yeah, it's a good album. Seated, I think. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I don't know. I've messed this up. Okay, Walls and Bridges. I think I used to like this album a lot more. Or at first I didn't like it, then I really liked it, and now I'm kind of in the middle. It's got a few good tracks. I like the opening track, Going Down on Love. Whatever Gets You Through the Night with Elton John, which was #1 hit. You Don't Know What You Got. Yeah, What You Got, that's a good track. And I like Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out, which is not a cover of that blues song. It's but I don't really like the production on this album, the way it sounds. I don't think Phil Spector's on it, but it's got that similar issue that Phil Spector albums have. It's a bit too produced, you know. So it's alright, but I think Mind Games is a little bit better. Okay. Double Fantasy. I really like Double Fantasy. I think John really... His songs on this album are really good. You've got Woman, which is iconic. Beautiful Boy. Beautiful Boy is pretty moving. Even without the context of his death, it's quite a moving song because it's just very... Well, I don't know. It just is, you know, it's a nice heartfelt song for his son. But then the context of John Lennon's death makes this song really just devastating. Watching the Wheels is great. Starting Over, I like Clean Up Time, and I'm Losing You. Dear Yoko might be the weak link, but it's decent. And you know what? The Yoko songs on this album are good. I don't think Yoko's the greatest singer, but her songs on this album are pretty good. I think this album has a slight new wave vibe. It's still fairly... It's also kind of a throwback album. I mean, Starting Over is like a 50s style song, but there's a little bit of new wave on this album. So I'll put that in A tier, yeah. Okay, I'm going to try and make this make more sense. I'll put Mind Games here. Yeah, that works. Okay, Rock and Roll. The John Lennon cover album of rock and roll songs, which he had to do because of the lawsuit over the Chuck Berry song You Can't Catch Me, which he pretty blatantly stole for his song Come Together. So I think it's ironic that he criticised George Harrison for the whole My Sweet Lord thing, when he literally did the same thing, but before even George did. This album has so much drama around it. But funny enough, it's because of a certain guy called Phil Spector. So I'm not going to go into that, but it's something. It's something. I mean, it's what it says on the tin. It's fine, I guess. It's it's got the cover of When the Night, whatever it's called. Stand By Me, which is good, and then the rest is fine. I like his version of Slipping and Sliding. So yeah, that album exists. And then we have Milk and Honey, which is the posthumous album, which came out in 1984, I think. See, I forgot to mention, after Wars and Bridges and Rock and Roll, John Lennon went on a hiatus to focus on family life, to be a house husband. And then in 1980 he came back, wanted to come back into the music industry. And I think he was very, passionate, very excited to be back. And, he was so productive, him and Yoko, that they even made decent progress on another album, which obviously didn't get finished. And Yoko did decide to not really touch the John songs and to kind of leave them as they are, to not mess with them. So the John Lennon songs on this album are unfinished. They are definitely early versions, but they are pretty good. You've got Stepping Out and Nobody Told Me. Those are both really good songs. I don't think those would have been the final versions, but they are good as they are. I Don't Want to Face It is a good song, but definitely would have been better after being developed a bit more. And Borrowed Time was released as a single for some reason, but I guess it's, considering what it's about, it's pretty sad, but it's an alright song. And then I think Grow Old With Me is on there, which is John Lennon's demo of that song, which he wrote for Ringo. And I just realised I didn't even talk about the specific songs on the Yoko songs and Double Fantasy, but they are good. I'm Moving On, that's a good one. And then her songs on this album are also quite good, and they are finished. And they're probably even more new wavy than the Double Fantasy songs. So I would say this is a good album, honestly. But it's... I don't know where to put it. It's somewhere between C and B. So there you go. That was my John Lennon album ranking. Let me know your thoughts and where you would place certain albums, or just what your favourite is. And I will do the George Harrison one shortly. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.